Hey, it's Simon Hurley from Inklipse, and welcome to another video. Now, one of the comments that I get super often, especially on my craft room tour video, is, wow, your craft room is clean and it looks really great. And some of you even want me to come over and clean your craft rooms, which I would do, but what you don't see is that usually after every project, my craft room looks like this. And you're not even seeing the floor. Now, if I let you in on a little secret, most people's craft rooms get super messy. I mean, it's how us creatives make our work. If you didn't have an opportunity to get messy, well, how would you get anything done? My craft room looks like an absolute tornado after I'm done working. But I have a system in place where it's super easy to clean up after I'm done. That way when I'm done with every project, I'm able to come back into a clean craft room and start over. So today, since my craft room is a little bit messy, I'm gonna walk you through my tips and tricks on how I clean my craft room pretty quickly and easily, so you can get your craft room in tip-top shape as well. Now, as I go, you'll see some of my favorite storage units because I make sure that each product has a home. At first, I wasn't willing to spend any money on anything in here, but I do recommend investing in some storage units or even grabbing some cardboard boxes that you find work for yourself. I DIY'd quite a few in my first couple of years of creating because you don't need to spend a ton of money on storage. But having great storage for each item will make sure you put it back in place to where it is. So instead of looking at all as a whole and thinking that I can't do it, I like to start out with one product category. So whatever's in front of me. If I find ink pads, I'll start putting my inks away. Okay, so I think by now we all know that I'm in love and obsessed with inks. So in my second drawer here, I actually have a stamp and storage ink unit, and I just put my ink pads in here. This is the Distress ink organizer, and it has a slot for your re-inkers, and it also has a slot for markers. But I, in fact, use these just for blending tools, and I have a dedicated one to each color, so I put it right next to it. And then I also have a mini detail blending tool in here for each color. Okay, so I filled it up with the rest of my ink colors. These are my 12 Simon Hurley Create inks, and of course you can put whatever inks you use next to you the most often. And I'm gonna answer your question right away. Most dye inks can sit on their side like this. Check the manufacturer's website, but mine definitely can be stored on its side with no issues. But this is super nice to have the blending tool and the ink together. I keep this drawer open sometimes when I'm crafting, and it's super easy to access the inks and make sure they get put away once I'm done crafting. Another thing to think about is having a drawer right next to you with some of your most used products in it, and this has worked super well for me in the past. In this top drawer, I have tons of different little containers. Whether you put little cardboard boxes in here or whatever you want, I have the Boon Organizer and some of my favorite clear bins in here, and I just am able to put some of my most used products away and pull them out while I'm crafting. So I'll put away my Distress sprayer, some stamp cleaner in here, so really any most used adhesives and tools, and I also keep pre-cut cardstock in here as well. So lots of different things right in the top drawer, so I can easily put them away and take them out while I'm working. Now, if you're like me and you leave your stamps out as you're crafting, I sometimes don't even clean the ink off until the end, which is a little bit bad. You should probably clean them right away. But sometimes I leave them on stamp blocks or on my desk, and all I'm going to do is just set these off to the side until the end. I don't clean up or put away stamps until the end, and then I have one method at the end because there's a lot of little ones and they can get lost in here, and it's annoying to have to keep doing it, and it's kind of a waste of time. So I save that all for the end. Of course, bigger things are super easy to clean. Here's a colored pencils case. There's one colored pencil sitting out. I'm going to put it right in here, and then I can put these back into their home. As I'm going through things, I'll find little tiny pieces of paper and scraps of things that are definitely garbage. I have a trash can off to my side. You'll see here, it's a pretty large trash can, and I leave it open as I'm crafting. And the reason is that I can take any pieces of cardstock and hopefully they make their way to the trash can before I have to pick up at the end. But it's always quite easy to go through all the garbage and toss it right next to you. Okay, one thing that I'll never understand is I have a garbage can right next to me, and for some reason there still ends up all of these little scraps on my desk. So as I go through, I kind of sift through all of these while I'm trying to find my different categories of stuff. And if I have any big pieces of cardstock, I'll save them and put them in my little scrap drawer so I can use these over and over because white cardstock is always super handy. There's one more thing that I want to talk about that I forgot about for a second there, but this has been a lifesaver in the craft room for me. If you spill any glitter or embossing powder on the floor or all over your desk, or if you end up leaving little tiny scraps of paper like me on the floor and they're a little bit difficult to pick up, a handheld vacuum is something that's been super helpful for me. So rather than bringing a giant vacuum in my craft room, having this little one on hand, it opens up like this. And it's pretty darn powerful. It sucks up all of the garbage and I'm able to easily empty it out right into my trash can. It's been a huge help in cleaning up and I'll link it down below in the description so you guys can check it out and see if it's something you would like for your craft room. Any stencils that I find or any dies, sometimes I leave dies out without its packaging, so I'll put these all on a pile so I can find their homes at the end because sometimes they can be buried underneath stuff. Sometimes I find cards on my desk, either I was crafting or taking pictures of them, and so what I do is I collect all the cards. We don't want those to get ruined, and I put them on a pile so I can send them out. With all of those little stray stamps that I found, I'm just going to stick them onto a craft sheet right in the center that I've taped down. I'll peel them all off the acrylic blocks, and most of these, I hate to admit it, aren't usually clean at the end. Now, a lot of people ask me what this wood surface is on my desk. I use it like it's a craft sheet. It's definitely not. It's just easier to film for you guys, but use a craft sheet to make sure your surface is nice and protected. This is a laminate surface. Honestly, this is pretty good for me. Usually there's a lot more stamps than that on my desk. That's a pretty small amount. Okay, so then to clean this, I've done this several ways in the past, but whatever your favorite way to clean your stamps is, you just do it straight onto the stamps on here. So you're cleaning all of them at once rather than cleaning them all individually on the acrylic block. So then I go in with a little bit of Archival cleaner because I use Archival ink a lot, and this is really the cleaner that's going to take it off nicely. So I just put a little bit on the surface of basically all of them. The thing that I like about the other surface that I use, I can't find it right now, but it's called the Rub It Scrub It pad, and I just put the stamp cleaner right on that pad and then go on here. But I'm going to use the Gina K Tidy Towel today, which you just have to get nice and wet, and then it's going to easily clean all of your stamps. You could just use the water, but I find the extra stamp cleaner kind of helps it out a little bit. So I'm just going to go in here, almost like a little car wash. We're just washing all of our stamps. And it's pretty quick and easy to do, but it's really pulling all of the ink off, especially if you didn't clean them right away. This is really going to help. Well, after I found homes for all of those stamps, I put them right back into their sleeves and they're back in storage now. It was super simple and easy to clean up my desk, just following those tips and making sure that everything has a home. Now that we've got our desk clean, let's talk into how I make sure everything has a home and how I find a home for each of my products, because that is super important and that's something that I struggled with for a long time. Now, when it comes to finding a home for each product, you have to group them together in categories, or not really categories, but what you would pull out together at one time. That way, instead of opening 5 drawers to get a project ready, I only have to open 1 drawer and pull everything out of it. Now in this drawer, I have all of my colored embossing powders. These are the ones that I keep in the little jars that I don't use every single day, but are super nice to have on hand. So I just emboss right on the top of the lid. I just put a little bit of embossing ink and then heat emboss it right on the top so I can see exactly what the color is gonna be. I actually keep lines up in here. And what's super nice is I keep my coffee filters in here so I can pull a coffee filter out as well as the color to make sure that I keep the mess contained. And the same thing goes with my glitter drawer. In here, I keep the little Swiffer cloths along with it so I can pull one right up to my desk as well when I'm using the glitters and make sure that everything stays nice and clean. Here I keep my watercolor palettes and powders. So my Altenew watercolors are in here as well as my brush out powders. And then keeping likewise items together like I said, I also have little pouches, and this is super important to me so I can keep all of my brushes in here. So I honestly just pick up this whole pouch, bring it onto my desk so I can use my brushes, and then I put it right back after I'm done, right back into the drawer with my watercolor powders. This is another big clear storage container so I can take this all to my desk if I want to. It has pouring medium in the back and then all of Dina's awesome paints, which I just love all these bright colors of. And then I have tins for my gel presses as well on the side. These are quite big, so I struggled to store them for a while, but this is the perfect way to store them all together. So if I want to do gel presses, I just pull out things from here and put them right back once I'm done. Now let's go over another thing. Alcohol inks is a big drawer for me, and this one took a little bit while, so I just keep all of my surfaces on this side. And then I have some tools in a little bin that I can bring up to my desk. So these are brushes that I keep for my alcohol inks. I have one of these little containers here, and I love these clear bins. I'll have a bunch linked down below. And in here I keep my alcohol pearls, some of the tools with the foam, and then I also have the alcohol blending solution in the back. So by pulling some of these bins up to my desk, I'm able to bring everything I need for the alcohol inks. Having a tin like this for your alcohol inks is super nice. This just keeps them really nice and organized in colored order, so they're really easy to pull out and put right back into storage once you're all done. And I love that it has a see-through lid, so you know exactly what it is when they're in your drawer. So this is one of my favorite drawers of the whole room. It's full of tons of color. This is my mini ink drawer. And for this, it was super important to get the storage right. I actually bought these mini distress ink tins. These hold 12 mini inks each, and I pried the lid off because I knew I wasn't going to travel with them. But then I stacked them all side by side in this drawer, so I'm able to store lots of colors, bring them to my desk if I want to, and put them right back in. So they've all got their own home, and they're all in rainbow order, which is super fun. You guys have probably seen this in my craft room tour before. I'm not going to go too in depth about it. This is kind of like a pantry storage unit that I have. So they all have drawers that can slide in and out really easily, which is super important so I can reach the top and see all of my stamps. I store them all in Avery L packets, and they all are labeled at the top. And then I have them by manufacturer, since I remember what I have from each manufacturer and their style. So that's the easiest way to store them for me, but I'm able to easily go through all my stamps and whatever from there. Same thing with background stamps, and larger stamp sets are down here in clear containers as well. Now I know buying some of these clear containers can definitely be a little bit expensive. It's one of my favorite ways of doing it because I know they're going to hold up as I pick them up and go to my desk. I'll leave links down below to some of my favorite storage that I have found from online, but one of the things I do recommend doing is going into department stores and then going into their little storage or kitchen section in the back, and then usually they have a bunch of clear containers, and I go through that area quite often when I go there, and then I can kind of collect these bins over time. I definitely didn't buy them all at once. It was a little bit of an investment, but you can find them for pretty cheap at those stores. Now let's talk about labeling, because labeling is something that's super important that I didn't really think that it was at the beginning, but knowing what's in your drawer, knowing where to put things away, and not losing anything is super important. So having the labels to remind you what's in each drawer is really nice. But for those back drawers, I didn't want you to be able to read labels from this kind of area. So let's talk about what works for me, where I can hide my labels but still know exactly what's in each drawer. For this, I used the Brother P-Touch label maker. This prints super fast. I love the font that it types in. It's definitely my favorite label maker I've used so far. So to label my drawers, I labeled them on the top edge. They have this cool little lip in it, and from the side view, you can't really tell there's a label on it. But if you go right above, you can read everything that's in each drawer when you're standing up. So you can see this drawer, we have watercolor palettes and powders. In this drawer, I have mini inks, which is one of my favorite drawers. Alcohol inks is down here, and everything is super easy to read, and I made it in big letters as well. As crafters, we sometimes like to buy extras of things, so I have an extra adhesives drawer here, some things that I don't use super often but need to have on hand. So you can see some tape runner, refills, I have my Xyron, I have some larger tape in my scrapbook.com huge roll, which I just love. We all need a junk drawer of tools, so having this is super important to me for things that don't really have a category but need to be stored. So they all go inside of that drawer. Now, although that video might have been a little bit all over the place, I hope you guys enjoyed seeing me cleaning my craft room, and then also taking a look in my craft room and seeing kind of how I store things and make sure that they have a home. Hopefully it didn't just turn into a craft room tour, and you can take some inspiration from my space and bring it to yours so you can kind of keep your craft room a little bit cleaner. It took me a long time to figure out some of the storage homes that I have for these, so hopefully seeing some of it helped you out. If you enjoyed the video, please give it a big thumbs up. Be sure to hit that subscribe button and click that notification bell to never miss another video like this one from me. I hope you all have a wonderful and blessed day, and I'll see you all very soon for another card making and crafting video. Bye!